Joining us now is Ellie Wheeler, partner at Greycroft, and Anu Duggal, founding partner at Female Founder Fund, an early-stage fund investing in technology companies started by women, both here at Post 9. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Good morning.
Anu, I'll start with you. In terms of this gender gap in venture capital, when you look at the numbers, still stubbornly low in terms of the amount of dollars that are flowing towards female-founded companies. Why is that, and how is your company looking to address that?
Sure. So I think at a high level, we have a long way to go. But one of the things that we've been doing as a fund is really tracking change at the bottom. So where it starts, the first institutional seed round. So every year we put out an annual report looking at how many Series A rounds are being led by companies that have a female founder. Here in New York, in 2013, there was one. In 2018, there were 18 Series A rounds led by female founders. So, again, the high level numbers, we have a long way to go, but I think it's also really important to look at change that's starting from the bottom, because ultimately those companies will go on to raise the billions of dollars that you're talking about.
Yeah, and Ellie, it's interesting because the data really, the numbers are eye-popping when you look at the data, but the devil's in the details in terms of how you're actually assessing that data. And so when you look at the total venture capital pie, so much of that number is kind of led by these mega rounds. And when you look at the mega rounds, that's money that has been flowing into, these companies that tend to be more male-run, male-started. So how much is that distorting the data? And does that speak to the fact that perhaps up until this point, when you look at what's further along in the pipeline and getting those big rounds, it has been men to begin with?
So you make a good point on the data, but I think it ultimately comes down to the venture side, right?
Yeah.
9% of decision makers at venture firms are women. That's eye-poppingly low, to use your words. But then the disparity on founders, and especially in those larger rounds, it gets even wider. So at the institutional seed and then getting to Series A, even there, the size of rounds that women are raising are smaller. And then that gap gets magnified, and it's worst at the later stages. So yes, you're seeing those mega rounds oftentimes are in fact, kind of male-led companies, but you see along the way, the rounds that female-led companies are raising are smaller across the board. And so when you end up having larger and larger rounds at the later stage, that becomes even more of a gap.
Does it feel in the Valley like this is a crisis, emergency, needs to be addressed urgently, or is it sort of like we're going to let the numbers decide and work itself out?
I mean, I think what we've seen, particularly over the last 12 to 18 months, is that almost all of the large Silicon Valley funds have brought on female partners. And I think part of that has been, very much tied to the Me Too movement and change across the industry. But I think what that has resulted in is women who have more power in terms of investing. And when you look at a typical female investor at a fund, they are investing in more diverse founders. They're looking at a 50-50 split. And so I think that all of that change is very healthy for the industry.
Are women a risky bet? Because I think there seems to be this mythology out there, but in terms of returns for these companies versus their male counterparts, what are the numbers?
The numbers are good. I mean, the numbers are good across the board in terms of actually generating good return, in terms of women more often actually hitting the targets that they set out on a micro level, so company by company. There's an economic case to do it. And I think that's the way that the entire argument needs to be framed. It's that you're not making money you could be making if you weren't, by missing out on, backing both female founders as well as founders from underrepresented groups.
Ellie and I actually both were investors in a company that had an exit last year. And the company's called Ellie. It was acquired by Walmart. And again, it was a serial founder, great example for the New York City tech ecosystem for female founders that, you can build great, exciting businesses that are market leaders and really have exits. So that was really exciting.